The entertainment world has exploded.
Most powerful witch hunters now were coming from Twitter, the Ivy League, and the progressive left. J.K. Rowling used to be a villain to the right because she wrote books about witchcraft. Now she's a villain to the left because she has the crazy belief that there's more to being a woman than pronouns and lipstick.
Emma is rightly free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public. But I have the same right, and I've finally decided to exercise it. I mean, mic drop, Stuber gear. She could not have said this more perfectly, better, more powerfully, or more in a more damaging way.
Once again. And this time, it's over a feud no one saw coming. The wizarding world may have ended years ago, but the real magic and madness has just begun. Reports are swirling that J.K. Rowling, the mastermind behind the Harry Potter empire, has allegedly fired back at her former star, Emma Watson, in what insiders are calling the most ruthless clapback in celebrity history. Fans are divided, timelines are melting down, and social media is in full chaos. It all started when a mysterious statement from Rowling surfaced.
I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. However, Emma and Dan in particular have both made it clear over the last few years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay, obligation, to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finished acting in Potter, they continue to assume the role of de facto spokespeople for the world I created. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain protectiveness. For the past few years, I've repeatedly declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically. Ironically, I told producers I didn't want her to be hounded.
Surfaced online, one that seemed to take direct aim at Emma's recent woke interviews. Within minutes, hashtags like #Rowling vs. Emma and #Wizard War were trending worldwide. The twist? Sources claim Rowling's words weren't just random shade. They were personal, poetic, and painfully precise. Some fans say it was justified. Others are calling it cruel. And right in the middle of it all stands Emma Watson, Hollywood's golden girl, reportedly blindsided and heartbroken. Did Rowling really go too far this time? Or is Emma finally facing the consequences of turning her back on the woman who made her famous?
She speaks of that clip that we just watched. The television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speech, and in truth, that was a turning point for me. But it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. This is the one in which Emma attacked JK in 2022. Emma asked someone to pass on a handwritten note from her to me, which contained the single sentence, "I'm so sorry for what you're going through. She has my phone number." This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, and I was constantly worried.
Because this story isn't just about opinions, it's about betrayal, power, and the price of fame in a world that never forgets. Quietly, the way most Hollywood storms do. First a whisper, then a spark, and before anyone could blink, it became an inferno. What looked like another harmless red carpet comment suddenly turned into a war of words that no one in the entertainment world could ignore. J.K. Rowling, the woman who once turned imagination into a billion-dollar empire, had allegedly spoken out about her former star, Emma Watson. The internet caught fire overnight. But what
is weak?
Emma had just publicly poured more petrol on the flames, yet thought a one-line expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. Like other people who have never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how...
What really shocked fans was how personal it all sounded. The tension between the author and her on-screen Hermione had been simmering for years. But this time, it felt like the lid had finally blown off. Insiders claimed Rowling had reached her breaking point, fed up with being publicly mocked by the very people she helped make famous. According to reports, Rowling's comments were calm but cutting, like a dagger wrapped in silk. She didn't yell, she didn't insult. She simply stated facts, laced with a tone so sharp that even the most loyal fans of both women felt the sting. She allegedly said she'd watched Emma grow from a 10-year-old child star into a global icon, but could no longer.
She's never going to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. I'd be astounded if she's been in a high street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed-sex changing room at a council-run swimming pool? Is she ever likely to need a state-run rape crisis center that refuses to guarantee
pretend that fame hadn't clouded her judgment? It wasn't just about politics or social debates anymore. It was about gratitude, loyalty, and respect. One source described Rowling's response as the kind of statement that could silence a room filled with 1,000 microphones. Emma's camp, on the other hand, reportedly went into panic mode. While her team rushed to do damage control, Emma herself was said to be deeply hurt and confused. She never expected things to go this far. For years, she had positioned herself as an activist, a voice for progress, equality, and justice. But now that same image was being used against her. Social media users flooded her accounts, some accusing her of hypocrisy, others defending her as the victim.
To find herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the women's prison. I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated means.
Of an overblown feud. Hashtags exploded across platforms, and within hours, the old Harry Potter fandom had split into two warring sides, Team Rowling and Team Emma. What made it worse was the resurfacing of an old clip from a 2022 awards event, where Emma had delivered her now infamous "all witches welcome" speech. At the time, fans thought it was just playful shade, a subtle jab at her former mentor. But now, in the light of this new controversy, it looked like something else entirely. Was that speech her first shot? One fan tweeted. Did we miss the signs? Another wrote. Suddenly, every line, every expression from that speech was being dissected at the scenes. Close friends of both women claimed this wasn't a simple misunderstanding. There were years of bottled-up tension. One insider, who had allegedly worked on the Potter reunion.
The greatest irony here is that had Emma not decided in her most recent interview to declare that she loves and treasures me, a change of tack I suspect she's adopted because she's noticed full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was, I might never have been this honest. Adults can't expect to cozy up to an activist movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination, then assert their right to the former
special, said that the atmosphere between the two had already been icy back then. Emma avoided her, the source revealed. You could feel it in the room. Rowling tried to make small talk, but Emma kept it polite and distant. It wasn't open hostility, but there was definitely something unspoken. As the hours turned into days, more supposed details began to emerge. Rumors spread that Rowling had once protected Emma during a difficult time in her early career, shielding her from bad press, offering advice, even using her influence to pull back harsh interviews. But those stories were never confirmed, and Emma never spoke publicly about them. Now, people were wondering if all that goodwill had been forgotten. The most shocking twist.
Emma is rightly free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public. But I have the same right, and I've finally decided to exercise it. I mean, mic drop, Stubergear. She could not have said this more perfectly, better, more powerfully, or more in a more damaging way for Emma Watson.
Came when an alleged private note from Emma to Rowling began circulating online. According to unverified reports, the note was short, almost heartbreakingly simple. "I'm sorry for what you're going through," it read. "You have my number." At first, people thought it was a fake, but soon after, several journalists claimed they had seen references to it in early drafts of an upcoming interview with Rowling. If true, it meant that Emma had indeed reached out privately, perhaps as an olive branch, but only after years of public tension. Fans didn't know what to make of it. Was the apology genuine or just an attempt to protect her reputation? Rowling herself, in her supposed comments, didn't hold back. She mentioned how some people had never known life outside wealth and fame, and how it was easy for them to preach ideals they were
down.
The most powerful witch hunters now were coming from Twitter, the Ivy League, and the progressive left. J.K. Rowling used to be a villain to the right because she wrote books about witchcraft. Now she's a villain to the left because she has the crazy belief that there's more to being a woman than
they would never personally face. It was a statement that many found brutally honest, but also harsh. Emma doesn't understand what real women go through, one commentator summarized. She's speaking from comfort, not from experience. Interview 47430. Meanwhile, Emma's supporters fired back, arguing that she had every right to voice her beliefs, and that the world had changed since Harry Potter. People evolve, a friend of hers allegedly said. Emma is using her platform to fight for something she believes in. That doesn't mean she hates JK or wants to disrespect her. It just means she has her own perspective. But by then, the narrative had already escaped everyone's control. Interviews, memes, fan theories, all spiraled into a frenzy. What once was a private tension had become a full-blown cultural spectacle.
For it.
My favorite line, I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. Oh my God. It's so effective. Yeah. It's so good. F this woman and her betrayal of J.K. Rowling when J.K. Rowling needed a friend, when she could have used just silence. If Emma Watson disagreed so mightily, and by the way, I don't believe she did. I believe she went along with the woke mob, just like all these actors do. There's no way she actually believes a man can become a woman.
For many fans, it wasn't just about two celebrities anymore. It was about choosing a side in a larger battle over free speech, feminism, and fame. One tweet summed it up best. It's not just Rowling versus Watson. It's old school rebellion versus modern day activism. And both think they're right. Still, amidst the chaos, one thing became painfully clear. The bond that had once defined an entire generation of film magic had been fractured beyond repair. Whatever happened next, it wasn't going to be quiet. The chaos only grew louder as Hollywood insiders and online commentators began choosing sides, each twisting the story in their own way. Some claimed Emma had finally snapped after years of feeling overshadowed by the woman who wrote her legacy. Others argued that Rowling had simply reached a point where silence was no longer an option. The tension between them wasn't just professional anymore. It had turned personal, emotional, and deeply symbolic of the cultural divide tearing Hollywood apart. Interview 514/540. By now, both women's representatives were reportedly dodging interview requests. Yet every hour brought new leaks, close source statements, and dramatic fan theories that blurred the line between fact and fiction. A podcast host went viral after claiming to have insider audio from the Harry Potter reunion shoot, where Rowling's name supposedly triggered visible discomfort in the cast. You could see Emma's expression change, the host insisted. She looked like someone holding in 10 years of resentment. The clip sparked millions of views, though no one could verify its authenticity. Still, in the world of online gossip, truth often matters less than how believable it sounds. On social media, fans were reenacting imagined confrontations between the two. One viral thread described a secret London dinner, where Emma allegedly confronted Rowling, accusing her of betrayal. "You turned the world against me," the tweet quoted her as saying. Another post, supposedly from someone who worked with Rowling's team, claimed that the author responded coldly, saying, "I gave you everything, and you gave me nothing but headlines." Though neither woman confirmed these exchanges, the internet treated them like gospel. Meanwhile, the entertainment network smelled ratings gold. Pundits on talk shows began dissecting every possible angle of the feud. One commentator compared it to watching a mother and daughter implode in public. Another called it a generational clash, millennial activism versus old-world resilience. Whatever the interpretation, the narrative stuck. Two icons who once shared the same red carpet were now standing on opposite sides of a cultural battlefield. Interview 6/26/6/50. Emma's friends were allegedly begging her to stay quiet. "Don't post anything, don't tweet, just wait," one source claimed they told her. But that silence only fueled speculation. Tabloids began publishing anonymous diary entries and insider texts, suggesting that Emma felt betrayed, humiliated, and blindsided. One of them quoted her as saying, "I looked up to her. I thought she was untouchable, and now she's attacking me for trying to help people." Fans flooded her social media comments with both support and scorn, creating a virtual tug of war. The drama escalated when a supposed old email from the early Potter years leaked online, allegedly showing how Rowling had once defended Emma during her teenage years when tabloids criticized her for dressing too maturely. "Give her space," Rowling had written in that email, according to the report. "She's a child navigating fame." This revelation painted a picture of genuine care and protection that only made the current feud sting even more. How do you go from protecting someone to publicly roasting them? One journalist asked during a morning show. Rowling's defenders argued that she hadn't attacked anyone personally, that she was only standing by her principles, refusing to be bullied into silence. But her detractors countered that she was using principles as a shield to justify cruelty. "This isn't courage," one critic tweeted. "It's bitterness disguised as bravery." By the end of the week, the debate had spread beyond celebrity circles. Politicians, columnists, and social activists were weighing in, turning what began as a personal spat into a cultural war symbol. Interview 7/45/8/15. Amidst the frenzy, a chilling twist emerged. Several of Rowling's followers posted screenshots of threatening messages she had allegedly received during the peak of the controversy. Messages filled with hate and violence. In the midst of this, Emma's silence became deafening. She didn't condemn the threats, at least not publicly, and that silence was all it took for people to turn on her. "Where's her compassion now?" one fan wrote. "She preached kindness but can't even say one word when someone's life is in danger." A week later, another shockwave hit. A journalist claimed that Rowling had turned down multiple interviews over the years to avoid commenting on Emma, reportedly saying she didn't want the young actress to get hurt by anything I say. That revelation flipped the narrative again. Was this feud really born out of hate or heartbreak? Was Rowling's recent statement a cold attack, or years of pent-up disappointment finally escaping? Rumors then swirled that a private recording existed, a phone call between Rowling and one of her old producers, where she allegedly confessed that she still cared about Emma, despite everything. "She's like a daughter who lost her way," the supposed quote read. Fans were stunned. Could it be that behind all the venomous headlines, there was still love, regret, and nostalgia buried beneath the anger? Across social platforms, old clips of Emma and Rowling laughing together on set resurfaced. The sight of them side by side, smiling during interviews, hit fans with a wave of bittersweet emotion. "How did we go from this to war?" one nostalgic fan asked under a viral video montage that played to soft piano music. Others blamed fame, politics, and the pressure of always having to pick a side in public. The fandom felt shattered. Some clung to the hope of reconciliation, while others believed the bridge had burned for good. Interview 9/02/9/28. As the storm raged, both women reportedly retreated into silence. Emma was seen leaving a private yoga retreat in Los Angeles, her face hidden under a hoodie, looking drained. Rowling, on the other hand, was spotted in Edinburgh, writing at a cafe, unbothered but thoughtful. Someone who claimed to have seen her said she looked peaceful, but sad, like a woman who's already made peace with losing something she cared about. And just when it seemed like the noise might finally die down, another spark reignited it all, an upcoming tell-all interview teased by a major streaming network. No one knew who it was with, but the trailer showed a shadowy figure and one unmistakable line: "I won't stay silent anymore." The internet went wild, convinced it was Emma finally preparing to tell her side of the story. But whether that interview would mend hearts or ignite another firestorm, no one could say yet. The trailer for the mysterious interview spread like wildfire across every social platform within hours. Fans froze the video, zoomed in on the blurred silhouette, trying to match the shape of the jawline and hairstyle to Emma Watson. Though nothing was confirmed, the internet had already made up its mind. Emma was about to break her silence, and the entire world was ready to watch. Hashtags erupted again, and journalists scrambled to predict what she would say. Is she going to apologize or double down? One headline asked. Will this be the end of her feud with Rowling or the beginning of something darker? When the night of the interview finally came, it was as dramatic as everyone expected. A dimly lit set, an emotional soundtrack, and an interviewer known for asking uncomfortable questions. As the cameras rolled, Emma appeared calm but tense. Her voice low, eyes slightly red as though she'd been crying before coming on set. She started by saying she never wanted things to become public and that she still respects Joanne as a writer. But then, she paused, just long enough to make it clear there was more to the story. It's hard when someone you looked up to becomes the center of something you can't stand behind, she said softly. I've spent my whole life trying to do what's right, and sometimes that means disagreeing with people you love. The internet exploded. Some viewers called her tone graceful. Others saw it as manipulative. One tweet summed up the divided reaction perfectly. Emma just spoke like a diplomat in a minefield. She said everything without saying anything. Then came the question everyone had been waiting for. The interviewer asked if she had ever privately reached out to Rowling. After a long silence, Emma admitted she had. Yes, she said. I sent her a note. I was sorry for what she was facing. I didn't agree with everything she said, but I didn't want her to think I hated her. That line alone set off a million arguments online. Some said it confirmed the earlier leak. Others called it damage control. Meanwhile, Rowling's team stayed silent, which only made her appear more powerful in the eyes of her supporters. Silence can be louder than words, one columnist wrote. Emma's crying on camera, but Rowling is writing history from her study window. Yet, behind closed doors, reports claimed the author wasn't as calm as she seemed. People close to her described her as deeply disappointed, especially at Emma's attempt to frame things as a misunderstanding. She didn't deny anything, one insider whispered. She just softened it so she'd look like the victim. The interview sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Late-night talk shows mocked it, reaction videos flooded YouTube, and even former co-stars from the Harry Potter films were pulled into the conversation. One anonymous actor, rumored to have played a smaller role in the series, claimed the tension between the two had been palpable for years. Emma idolized her, he said. But fame changes people. Maybe it changed both of them. Fans began digging into old interviews, searching for clues they might have missed. A clip from a 2014 press tour resurfaced, showing Emma hesitating when asked if she still talked to Rowling. We've both been busy, she had said then, smiling awkwardly. Looking back now, that moment felt like a prophecy. As the controversy raged on, brands started to take notice. A fashion label reportedly paused a campaign featuring Emma's image, worried that her association with a politically charged feud could backfire. Meanwhile, sales of Rowling's books suddenly surged again, with headlines calling it the revenge of the writer. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Every time people try to cancel her, one blogger joked, she just sells another 1 million copies. Interview 10, 19-10-37. But just when everyone thought the story had reached its peak, a new twist dropped, an alleged leaked letter from Rowling herself. It wasn't confirmed, but it appeared to be written in her signature tone, sharp, intelligent, and deeply emotional. In it, she reportedly addressed the accusations of cruelty and arrogance, saying she had once protected those children like they were her own, but could no longer watch them weaponize her silence. I was poor when I wrote the books that made them rich, the letter read. I understand hardship in ways they never will. I fought for their future before they knew what fighting meant. The authenticity of the letter was debated, but its content hit people hard. It shifted public sympathy again. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't about a bitter writer clinging to relevance. It was about a woman who had built an empire, only to watch her creations turn on her. Even some of Emma's fans admitted that if the letter was real, it painted a heartbreaking picture. "This doesn't sound like hate," one viewer wrote in a viral post. "It sounds like pain." Behind the scenes, sources claimed that mutual friends of both women were trying to arrange a private meeting to end the feud once and for all. But according to a journalist close to the situation, Emma wasn't ready. "She feels like no matter what she says, people will twist it," they explained. And Rowling feels she's already said too much. It was a stalemate. A cold war built on emotion, ego, and the echoes of a world they once shared. The public, however, had no intention of letting the story die. Speculation turned wild when a fan account leaked what appeared to be screenshots of text messages between two unnamed industry insiders discussing a potential reconciliation photo op. Within minutes, everyone was asking the same question. Were they actually meeting in secret? Had the feud already ended behind closed doors? But before any answers could surface, both sides went quiet again, leaving fans hanging between hope and skepticism. The silence didn't calm things, it only made them louder. People began crafting their own versions of the truth, mixing rumor with emotion until it was impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. News outlets dissected body language, tone, and word choice from old footage. Fan edits portraying them as rivals, allies, even tragic parallels flooded TikTok. One viral caption read, "The author and the actress, two sides of the same spell." Through it all, one thing became painfully clear. The feud wasn't just entertainment anymore. It had become a reflection of the times, a symbol of a generation torn between loyalty and change, between the creators who built the stories and the stars who grew up inside them. What started as a rumor had evolved into something much larger, something neither of them could control. And as days passed, everyone began to wonder the same thing. Was there any chance left for peace between the writer and her muse? Or had the spell finally broken for good? The world waited, and the silence between them stretched for weeks, almost unbearable. Every entertainment outlet ran countdowns, predicting what would happen next. Memes called it the Great Wizard War. And yet, beneath all the jokes, there was an ache of nostalgia. Two people who once represented imagination and courage now locked in a feud that felt too real. But just when everyone thought the storm had passed, a new shock hit. A leaked excerpt from what was claimed to be Rowling's upcoming essay titled The Price of Silence. The essay wasn't confirmed, but its words were everywhere within hours. It read like a confession mixed with a warning. "Silence," it began, "is the most misunderstood kindness. I stayed quiet for years, not because I was afraid, but because I still cared. But when care turns into a weapon used against you, silence becomes surrender." The quote spread like fire. Some called it powerful, others said it was manipulative. Still, fans couldn't deny how poetic and devastating it sounded. Everyone assumed it was aimed directly at Emma. In response, Emma was reportedly caught off guard while leaving a hotel in New York. A reporter shouted if she'd read the essay, and though she didn't answer, cameras caught her expression. It wasn't anger this time, it was exhaustion. Later that day, an insider close to her told a popular entertainment blog that Emma feels like she can't win anymore. She had tried to move on, focus on her projects, but every post, every appearance was met with comments dragging her back into the feud. The tension reached its breaking point when an old video resurfaced from behind the scenes of the last Harry Potter film. In it, a teenage Emma hugs Rowling tightly during the wrap celebration. "Thank you for everything," she whispers. Fans replayed that moment endlessly, comparing it to the bitter distance of today. Somewhere between those hugs and these headlines, something broke, one fan wrote. And that sentiment went viral, shared across platforms, captioned with bittersweet music by now. Commentators were calling it one of Hollywood's most tragic fallouts. A bond built on creativity and admiration, shattered by ideology and pride. And yet, people close to both women hinted that under all the noise, they still shared something deeper than the public realized. "They're more alike than they think," one mutual friend told a British magazine. "Both are stubborn, both believe they're doing what's right, and both feel betrayed." That combination can build empires or destroy them. As rumors of reconciliation faded, another curveball hit. a journalist revealed that Rowling had anonymously donated a large sum to a women's education charity, the same one Emma had supported for years. The donation slip had no name, but fans quickly connected the dots when a familiar quote from Rowling's books was written in the note: "We are only as strong as we are united." It wasn't proof, but it was enough to spark hope. Suddenly, the internet's tone shifted. "Maybe this is her way of saying sorry," someone posted. Others argued it was her way of showing that she didn't need to say anything at all. Emma, for her part, posted a single photo days later, an image of a typewriter beside an open book, captioned, "Words are powerful, but silence can heal too." No names, no hashtags, but everyone understood what she meant. The comment section filled with emotional messages. "This feels like peace," one fan wrote. "Maybe they've forgiven each other quietly." Still, not everyone was convinced. Debates continued to rage. Was the feud really over? Or had they simply agreed to bury it under silence? Podcasts speculated endlessly, dissecting every phrase, every gesture, every subtle digital breadcrumb. One host said it best: "This isn't about who won, it's about who learned to let go." Interview 11 of Gossip. The two women seemed to move on with their lives. Rowling focused on her writing, releasing new projects under a pen name, while Emma began directing a short film about identity and forgiveness. Some said the timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. Industry whispers suggested that Rowling had even read the script through a mutual friend and approved of it quietly. Then came the final twist no one saw coming. During an award ceremony in London months later, the host mentioned the Harry Potter legacy and thanked both Rowling and the cast for inspiring generations. The camera panned to the audience. Emma was there, sitting near the front, smiling softly. When Rowling's name was mentioned, the audience erupted in applause. Emma clapped too. Not with exaggerated enthusiasm, not with tension, just a quiet, genuine smile, like someone who had finally made peace with her past. It was only a few seconds, but that small gesture became the most replayed moment of the night. Social media exploded once again, but this time it wasn't outrage, it was relief. "That one clap said more than any interview ever could," one fan wrote. Another commented, "No spells, no curses, just closure." For the first time in years, the fandom felt united again, remembering what had brought them together in the first place. The magic of a story, not the politics behind it. In the end, the feud that had consumed headlines for months faded quietly, not with a press release or a grand apology, but with silence, compassion, and perhaps a touch of maturity. The internet moved on to its next obsession, but for those who'd followed every twist and turn, it felt like the end of a long chapter. Both women had said what they needed to, one through her words, the other through her restraint. And somewhere in the midst of the fading noise, one truth lingered. The bond between creator and creation might fracture, but it never truly disappears. It just changes form, living on in the hearts of those who once believed in magic. And that brings us to the end of one of the most dramatic celebrity sagas of recent times. A story filled with loyalty, pride, heartbreak, and the strange magic of fame. Whether you side with J.K. Rowling, who refused to stay silent no matter the backlash, or with Emma Watson, who stood by her beliefs even when it cost her peace, one thing is clear: this feud wasn't just about opinions. It was about identity, power, and the clash between generations. The world saw two women who once built a fantasy together now caught in a battle far more real than any spell they ever cast on screen. But the biggest question still remains: is this truly the end? Or just another quiet pause before the next storm? Has forgiveness finally taken the place of resentment? Or are both stars simply too proud to reopen old wounds? Fans around the world are still debating what really happened behind the scenes, and the truth may never fully come out. But that's the mystery that keeps us all watching, wondering, and talking. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Did J.K. Rowling go too far with her sharp words? Or was Emma Watson wrong for staying silent when it mattered most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's hear your take. And if you enjoyed diving into this wild Hollywood fallout, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest celebrity showdowns, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. This is one story that reminds us, even in a world without magic, drama never dies.